Hey guys, Luke here, and we're here to do our Week 3 predictions for the 2019 NRL season. For Round 1, we had an absolutely shithouse week. For Round 2, we had a brilliant week. What's Round 3 got to be? Hopefully we're not going to develop a little bit of a pattern here where one week is good and the next week is bad. Hopefully I can go on a bit of a streak of good weeks. Anyway guys, let's not waste any more time, let's get into my tips. The first game of the week on Thursday night sees the Brisbane Broncos take on the St. George Illawarra Dragons. Now I think most people will agree that this tip is pretty straightforward. The Broncos absolutely brilliant last week, just destroyed the Cowboys. We all talked about the Cowboys having the best forward pack in the game and they just got dismantled very easily. Tavita Pangai Jr., very good. He's definitely a star of the future. Well, he's a star right now. Probably will play for New South Wales this year. But the Dragons forward pack, that's what really worries me. If Broncos can do that to the Cowboys forward pack with Taumalo, even injuring Taumalo, what are they going to do to this Dragons forward pack? Corbin Sims returns for the Dragons, but I mean, Dragons, their forward pack looks kind of weak. Their backs look kind of weak. The halves don't look great. I think the Broncos are going to get this one done very comfortably. Even though I do think the Dragons will play okay for the first part of the game and they'll hang with the Broncos for a little bit, I think just like the Rabbitohs did last week, I think the Broncos will run away with it in the end and I think they'll win 13+. On to Friday night, the 5 o'clock game sees the Canberra Raiders taking on the Newcastle Knights in Canberra. While I don't think the Raiders have a particularly good team, them playing at home is a big deal. Now the conditions are pretty good, so it's not like they're going to be playing in the freezing cold, which happens a lot at Canberra and a lot of teams do struggle with. I think the conditions will be pretty good because of the time, but I think the Knights still will struggle. I don't think they've played particularly well so far this season. They haven't really gelled as a team that well, and Connor Watson's out, so I think they're only going to struggle even more in terms of their combinations. So Connor Watson appears to be out. Kurt Mann, I think he's going to play fullback. Don't think he's played too much fullback, at least not for a little while. He was brought over to play hooker apparently, but he finds himself at fullback. You think the natural thing to just move Kalaponga back there, but I don't know, they're persisting with this. Don't really like it myself, but hey, that's their decision. But I do like this Canberra team. I do think that Canberra have a pretty good team for home. I think their forward pack should be able to compete with the Knights forward pack. I really do like their back row in particular. They've got the all-English back row, Whitehead, Bateman, I think it's Sutton. They're quite good. Adding Hodgson, brilliant little forward pack there. The bench is a little bit weak though. I do think the Knights, however, will pick up the victory here. I think it will be a tight one. I think the Knights will win 1-12. The second game of Friday night sees the Parramatta Eels take on the Sydney Roosters. I think we can all agree that Blake Ferguson is the form player of the comp at the moment. He's absolutely killed it. In the Indigenous game, he killed it. In the first 2 rounds, he's killed it. Even for the Roosters last year, absolutely killed it. He's continued his form from last year into the 2019 season, and I think he's been a big factor in why the Eels are going as well as they are. Now, I think they do have a good team overall. Gutherson at fullback is good. They finally got some consistency in terms of their halves, fullback, hooker. Everything seems to be going okay for them at the moment. But this will be the first real test for them, in my opinion. They've played the Panthers, which are an okay side. The Bulldogs, dog shit. But the Roosters, we know the Roosters are a class above the rest of the teams. I will say, though, the Roosters, they haven't looked too flash themselves. They got up last week against Manly, but hey, that's Manly. And they didn't even do that very convincingly. And then they also lost to the Rabbitohs, who were their first big test. So when they come up against a tough opponent, they've lost that game. So, I mean, the Eels, if they're going to be a real contender, they need to put in a strong performance here. Blake Ferguson up against his old team will be a big one. And also, is he going to be up against the rookie player? Brett Morris is out. He got injured last week, obviously. Big complaints about the Brookvale service from him. But he's out with a knee injury. They've brought in this rookie. I'm pretty sure he's a rookie. I've never heard of him. So will Blake Ferguson be up against him, or will he be up against Daniel Tupou? I'm not really sure, but either way, he's going to terrorize him in my opinion. However, I do think the Roosters will have just that little bit too much class. I think it's going to be a good battle in the halves. We have sort of, not rookies, but we have Mitchell Moses and Dylan Brown. Dylan Brown definitely is a rookie, but up against this, you know, seasoned veterans in Cooper Cronk and Luke Keary, and I think that's where it's going to be one. I'm going to predict the Roosters to win this 1-12. On to Saturday, the first game is the Manly Warringah Sea Eagles taking on the New Zealand Warriors. Now, even though Manly are technically the home side, they're obviously not the home side. This is being played at Christchurch, obviously in New Zealand. That was where the tragedy happened, and I would expect the Warriors to come out super fired up. We saw how they were a few weeks ago, and that was in Auckland. They're playing in front of the Christchurch home ground. I think it's going to be a really big performance from the Warriors. Now, in the past, I've called both of these sides garbage, and I stand by that. I don't think their teams on paper are that particularly good. However, I think the Warriors side have a better overall team. The Manly side, Tom Trbojevic is back. He'll be a huge difference. I think if they're going to win, he needs to get involved. However, he does have a hamstring injury, so we'll have to just wait and see how he does end up actually going, whether he's going to be quiet or if he's going to have a huge impact. I'm not particularly sure, but I do think where this game is going to be won is in the backs. I do think the Warriors have the much better backs, and the halves, they kind of just need to be serviceable for the Warriors to win, in my opinion. They don't need to be absolute standouts or anything. They just need to get the job done. Honestly, if you're going to be tipping Manly, I've got to give it to you. You've got to be one of the bravest people I know, or a Manly supporter. But I'm going to go with the Warriors 1-12. I think it's going to be an easy win for the Warriors. On to the second game of Saturday. It's the North Queensland Cowboys taking on the Cronulla Sharks. Now, I think the obvious talking point going into this game is the fact that Jason Taumalele is injured and is going to be out for like 6 to 10 weeks. So that is a big loss for the Cowboys. He's the best player in the world at this point, but I don't know, the Cowboys, this might be a good thing for them. They'll have to learn to play without Jason Taumalele. They do have the forward pack to do it. Even without him, they still have a pretty strong forward pack. But coming up against this Sharks forward pack, it should be a big test first up. The Sharks forward pack is quite good themselves. A feeder, very good. Paul Gallen, good. Pryor, good. Even Aaron Woods on the bench, quite good. It should be a great test for him. And I do think the Sharks forward pack will be able to match it with the Cowboys forward pack, which is a bit of a danger for the Cowboys. Now, I know they're at home and they probably will fire up in front of the home crowd, but just looking at their back line, their halves, they've reshuffled the halves. Jay Clifford comes in. Tamari Martin goes to fullback. Justin O'Neill's out and Jordan Kahu moves into the centers. I still don't particularly like their spine. Michael Morgan is the obvious standout, but apart from that, they don't really offer too much. Tamari Martin's not even a fullback, and he's playing fullback. Clifford, though, I'm keen to see how he goes. He's supposed to be this prodigy, I guess. So, you know, he might be pretty good, but up against Sean Johnson and Townsend, who are sure things, like, you know they're going to be good. And just the Sharks backline is just so much better. I think the Sharks win this one quite easily and quite comfortably. I'm going to go 13+ for the Sharks. On to the last game of Super Saturday, we have the Penrith Panthers taking on the Melbourne Storm. I seem to talk about this every week, but I've got to be honest, the Penrith Panthers, I don't like their team on paper, and it looks even weaker this week. With their second row, they got Frank Wittgenstein starting in the second row. He did score a try last week, but I do think he's not the best player. Their forward pack does look quite weak. And the Melbourne Storm, we know how good the Melbourne Storm is. They're just so consistent. Their forward pack is good. I think the Storm are just going to shit all over the Panthers this week, honestly. The Panthers, I think they'll match it for a little bit just purely because they're in front of the home crowd. But they haven't impressed me this year. The Storm has. I think the Storm are going to win this one easy. Storm 13+. On to Sunday afternoon football. We have the West Tigers taking on my Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. I've got to admit, Tigers are kind of surprising me this year. They are playing quite well. Robbie Farah and Benji Marshall combining well, winding back the clock. The spine as a whole combining quite well. Moses Zumbai came back last week and the team looked very good. In previous years, when Benji Marshall or Robbie Farah has played, it's kind of taken away things from Luke Brooks, but this has not been the case this year. That is a big improvement for the Tigers. However, their forward pack still does look kind of weak, and I got to say the Bulldogs forward pack this week does look a lot better. In fact, the Bulldogs team overall does look a lot better in my opinion. A lot of changes. I'm keen to see how Ockenbar goes on the wing. Should be a big change. The Bulldogs, their backs, they kind of just lack everything, really. But we've got Meaney coming in, who can do a bit of ball playing. Hopewadi moves to the centers. Ockenberg comes in. A little bit more size, a little bit more speed, hopefully. Hopefully just a lot better performance than what the other players have been dishing up. Now, the Bulldogs, they did start off quite good last week. And like I said in my round 2 wrap-up, I was kind of in shock. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The Bulldogs played very well for 30 minutes, and then they just gassed out. Now, it's kind of come out that they might have been playing a post-training sessions, which is essentially a game like 2 days before or the day before, which is just stupid, and that kind of explains why they're tiring out. And a lot of people have said they don't look like they have the fitness of an NRL team. Well, maybe that explains it. Either way, Bulldogs have a lot to play for. They've been embarrassing the first 2 weeks. The Tigers have come up against 2 teams who haven't been particularly good, and they more have that sort of false sense of confidence. So for that reason, I'm going to be going for an upset here. I'm going to be going for the Bulldogs 1-12. Please, for the love of God, do not kill me in the comments if the Bulldogs lose, because now that they've tipped them, chances are they're going to get beat by 40-50. So, you know, good luck, Tigers. On to the last game of the round. It's the South Sydney Rabbitohs taking on the Gold Coast Titans. To be honest, there's not that much to say about this game. I think it's fairly obvious who's going to win, although the last time I said that, the team ended up getting beat. But the Rabbitohs, they've been so good so far. They beat the Roosters with ease. They beat the Dragons pretty comfortably. The Titans should be no match for them, really. I was expecting big things for the Titans, but definitely not this week. The team that they've put out is just not good. The Rabbitohs forward pack should be way too strong for them. The Titans forward pack, very disappointing. Apart from Jai Arrow, they don't really offer too much. And up against Sam Burgess and Cameron Murray, you know, George Burgess, Tom Burgess, everybody, Damien Cook, I think the Rabbitohs is going to absolutely destroy them. Rabbitohs 13+. Anyway guys, those are my tips. Make sure you leave in the comment section below what are your tips for this week. Guys, that is the end of the video. Hopefully you did enjoy it. If you did, make sure you go ahead and smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Also make sure to go and give me a follow on Twitter and Instagram. It's on the screen right now. It's Mr. Luke and YT. Go ahead and like my Facebook page as well. I've been posting on there a little bit more. And yeah, that's it really. That's my tips done. That's the video done. I'll see you tomorrow wrap up in a few days. See you guys. Bye.